It was a frozen frenzy around the National Hockey League. Unfortunately for the Sharks, the frenzy doesn't include a win. They are now the only team in the NHL without a victory. We'll break this one down. We might bring back a old-time classic right now here on Teal Town After Dark. Good evening, everyone. It is October 22nd, 2022. The Sharks lose to the Anaheim Ducks by a score of 3-1, and we welcome you to this edition of Teal Town After Dark. This is your live interactive Sharks post game. So if you want to be part of the show, chat with us and fellow hockey fans all over the world and in Sharks territory on the YouTube page or the app. You can always follow us on the social, and you can find everything at tealtownusa.com. If you want to support the pod, you can help us out via Venmo at tealtownusa, or if you're watching us live, leave a super chat donation down below. But I will say to good evening to you're kind of buzzing again, but I don't know what happened. But how are you, Erik? Long no see.
Yeah, dude. I feel like I have been in a whirlwind as far as where I've been and what I've been doing. uh, a 2 week road trip will do that to you. But I'm back. It's good to be covering the Sharks. I was paying attention to the boys while they were, while I was out on my adventure. Uh, but I think we've seen some good things, some positive things, and I think we've seen some troubling trends. So I think we had some trends that really reared their ugly head in this game.
Oh, that's saying a whole lot. Unfortunately, as the Sharks begin a 4-game road trip, probably if you had a week off, the perfect road trip to go to. You have Anaheim tonight, Thursday in LA, Saturday night in Vegas. Oh, you get to be in Vegas for the weekend, and then you can go to Utah on Monday. Uh, it's one of those ones where you kind of like, that's tempting to do, but the Sharks would get going early with the power play, just 57 seconds in. Fabry would take a penalty. No luck there, but that would be the only penalty call until the third period for the Sharks that went their way. As the Sharks would parade to the box once again, Landi in the first period 3 times. Thankfully, the Ducks entered this game 0 for 17 on the power play.
Something's got to break, man. Something's got to break.
Yeah, I wish it were us. I just wish we could break through. That would be the most important thing for sure. Unfortunately, Will Smith would take 2 penalties, one in the second period. That would lead to a power play goal for Anaheim. Troy Terry would make it 1-0. The kids, you could see the kids trying, but his stick just got in the way, not just once but twice tonight.
Sorry, say
Randy.
that one more time.
Oh, I
Sorry,
said
say that one
that.
more time. Okay.
So Will Smith took a pair of penalties. His first one would lead to a power play goal by Troy Terry to make it 1-0. What did you see on the goal and overall Will
Yeah, no,
Smith?
I mean, I think the troubling trend that we've been seeing in the penalty kill. Well, first off, it's an unfortunate penalty to take there from Smith. It's one of those penalties that I think as you get older in the league, you're less likely to take. You kind of understand where to keep your stick and what's going to be called and what won't be. However, on the goal itself, I mean, this is the continuing problem we've seen with the Sharks PK, and that is these cross-ice passes and lots of movement on the PK. And unfortunately, I think that's also contributing to the majority of the failure on the PK.
Yeah, and you really can't throw your blame on Mackenzie Blackwood. He would have 37 saves on 39 shots. I mean, he played pretty well to make up for that nightmare in Winnipeg.
Yeah. I think Mackenzie Blackwood really did acquit himself well tonight. I think the first goal wasn't in love with. It was kind of a far side shot that he allows in from long distance, and it's unfortunate. He'd probably want that first goal back, but the next two, I mean, eh, you'd have to make A plus efforts and A plus type saves in order to get the latter two goals back. So really, I mean, for the Sharks, he did everything that you needed to do to keep the team in the game. He made critical stops in the early parts of the game to really keep the team afloat and allow the team to kind of get their footing on the ice.
Yeah. And in you need it because my God, this team would take a parade to the penalty box again. I mean, 7 against Chicago, 7 against Winnipeg, 4 against Colorado, 6 tonight against Anaheim. Uh, they can't seem to get out of their bad habits.
Yeah, because continuing to have the bad habits, and again, when you're a team that has to really thread the needle on getting everyone to be pulling in the same direction as far as a talent discrepancy goes on the ice, and you have to be really careful and really tactical in your decision making because you don't have the talent to make up for mistakes. You're making, the team is making a lot of mistakes that they just don't have the talent to make up for at this point. So, for me, when you're devoid of talent and you've got, um, and you're at a disadvantage, not only from a skill perspective, but also a disadvantage from perhaps a coaching and just a cohesiveness perspective. You really do have to be very careful with how you use your stick, with your checks, and you have to be very methodical, or else you're going to get this parade to the box that we've seen. And again, the penalty kill, because it is leaking so much oil right now. I mean, you can pretty much pencil in the Sharks to give up at least a power play goal per game at this point, just this juncture in the season.
Yeah, it's 9 power play goals allowed in the last 4 games. I think the broadcast said tonight. Not a good look at all, especially considering how this team was perfect on the PK early on.
Yeah.
And it got worse because the Sharks would first tie a game up on a power play goal. Granlund would get the shot from the point. We originally credited the Wenberg, but they gave it to Granlund, which means Jack Thompson gets his first NHL point on the power play. Thompson, one of those potentially promising young defensemen that could maybe do something for the Sharks in the very near future.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think with a guy, especially like Granlund, where you're trying to extract most of the talent from him, you can have either a guy who can be a leader for the young players and really show them how to conduct themselves in the NHL, or you can use him as a piece to build up and to stockpile for the future. So,
Yeah.
a player like Granlund is very, I think, very valuable piece right now. Either as a member of the Sharks, kind of leading the way for the team, or as a valuable piece come trade deadline time.
Yeah, it can be helpful. Be the future or be the future of the future. I guess you could say, in that case. From Uncle Darren Stevens at Shark Stats on the Twitter machine, the Sharks have been shorthanded 35 times this season. That their most through 7 games since 2009 and 2010. They have allowed 9 goals over the last 4 games, their most in a single season 4-game span since January of 2002, where they also allowed 9. Now, not to get everybody all excited, but they made the playoffs both of those years. That sure as ain't happening now. But the future is teal. The struggle is real. I think is what we can really say on it. But right after Granlund gets the Sharks tied up at 1-1, 10 seconds later, Will Smith takes a tripping call, and I hate to get on the kid, but damn, dude, it leads to another power play goal for Anaheim, a nice tic-tac-toe pass. Gauthier to McTavish to Leo Carlsson, and the second overall pick for Anaheim in 2023. It gets eventually the game winner about 5.5 minutes in.
Yeah, and this was the rough goal, that I thought, Blackwood should have had. It was not the first goal, but the second goal that I thought he should have. And with Smith, again, the lack of maturity really showing up, and he's had a difficult go in his first few games here in the NHL. And I think he's adjusting to the speed of the game. I think we also have to remember that the workload is completely different than it was in college. So you've also got to deal with that transition as well. So it's difficult, and I think a lot of Sharks fans want to see the immediate success that a Macklin, Celebrini, and a Will Smith will eventually provide. But you also have to remember that there's going to be years of them maturing and developing in front of our eyes. And I just, we go back into recent memory into Patrick Marleau and how long it took him to develop. And, we know the years of the Sutter Doghouse, and, we know the years of the uh, excuse me,
Ron Wilson.
Ron Wilson's doghouse as well, where he would have these moments of, putting Patty kind of on the pedestal and giving him the prime minutes, and then, you know, being frustrated with him when he's, not producing or being streaky like he has been. And so I think you really do deal a lot with that with Smith and Celebrini, and I think we look no further than just Eklund's maturity and how much he's matured in the last year from where he was last year to now.
And you're just saying exactly what I was going to mention with Chris Martin's comment. How long would it take to clone Eklund? It's 2024, for God's sake. But you also got to look at it. It took Eklund some time. He got those 9 games in his first year, then was sent down, went back, overseas, then came back to the Barracuda. Of course, he had that tough shoulder injury, but it's been good. Hopefully, he's okay. Block shot in the game, but he went out there again. He got an assist on the only Shark goal. And Nick Mellon also mentioning, does no one remember Timo Meyer's first 36 games? There are times, they all. Again, and I hate to sound like a broken record every time I'm on, but it's like the guy needs to, you got to be patient with him. It's not going to come natural. Now, is it frustrating to see Bedard, Carlson, Fantilli doing crazy things right now? Sure, and it can be infuriating, but just needs a little more seasoning, and they'll get going.
We also have to remember the kind of players that they are, right? I mean, they're not, Macklin. I think of between Macklin and Smith, Macklin's more creative, but I mean, these are not like Connor McDavid level of, hype as far as the creativity goes. So I think we also have to temper our expectations with how fast these kids are going to mature. And I think we also have to realistically understand that we've expended a lot of capital, a lot of draft capital, and a lot of as as AJ so lovingly puts it, shots at the bingo balls, right?
Yep.
Or shots, at the lottery tickets. And even if you do have a fourth overall pick or a first overall pick, there is nothing that says that they are destined to be NHLers, and going on to have great, if not Hall of Fame type careers. I mean, I just saw something pop up on my YouTube feed on Nail Yakupov, right? I mean, just
Yeah.
think about that. So I also don't want our viewers to have too high expectations. I know we're all sick of losing. I know that it has been a tough watch for the last 3 seasons plus. I know it's been heart wrenching to see the team be gutted, and then to see the players that you grew up watching, or your favorite players be traded away, or not retained, um, or the inability to draft and develop within the time span of the team being very successful, as far as playoff success goes, and not being able to replenish on the fly, and then to continuing to double down on on the closed window, so to speak.
Yeah.
So this team, this franchise has had a lot of heartstrung strings pulled on it. I think we've all felt the bitterness of defeats. We've all seen and remember and understand vividly the playoff collapses, and
Hmm.
unfortunately, it takes time to develop a core, like a good foundational core that's going to go and win you cups, right? I think about I think about Chicago, and I think about Pittsburgh, and I think about the other big rebuilds that have come out and then come and won Stanley Cups. I mean, Tampa Bay. It didn't all just happen overnight, right? I mean, they didn't just get an number one overall pick and the next year they were better, right? I mean,
Yeah.
even the year after Pittsburgh got Sydney,
It
they
took a
were
bit.
better. It took
Yeah.
a bit.
But
It
I
took a bit.
mean, 4 years later, he's hoisting Lord Stanley. Um, and that's the tough part. With it all, and
So
that's
so
and the
you think about
patience. I
four
think alone.
years, right? So you said 4 years since he was drafted to when he raised a cup.
Yeah.
So if we're and geez, I hate to put that kind of expectation on a kid like Macklin, but if you're going to compare him, and some have compared him to Crosby as far as skill set goes, I mean, who knows what he's going to be? But if that's the expectation, and it was 4 years before Crosby sniffed the cup, I mean that's kind of a minimum, don't you think, of how long it's going to take for the Sharks to mature around him? Um, so again, I'm tired of losing, and I don't love the specific type of um, of patterns that we're seeing, especially on the PK here,
Yeah.
because I think those defensive habits, those base defensive instincts, are kind of exacerbated in the PK. So if you don't have good fundamentals defensively, even strength, you're sure as hell not going to have good fundamentals in the PK. And again, we looked at the defense and we said that there were some holes on this defense. Um, but I feel like the forwards could be doing a little bit more, and I think that this is not just on the defense itself, but I think it's just on the defensive structure, and just how much the team wants to commit to playing defense in their own zone. I think that again is a maturation thing,
Hmm.
and kind of shows you the level of maturity that where the team is at right now.
Yeah. And that's the tough part. And Chris mentioning, look, I'm going to vent frustration over the Sharks play, but we understand this is a long game. Let's not burn out the kids. Winning will come. It's just tough to watch. And I think the biggest thing too, and I think I got it. Did I save it in here? You know, Steve mentioning, agreed, Landy. It's not surprising we don't have a winning record. It's just brutal not to have a single W this many games in again. And I think also, proud Hederick, to their credit, the Sharks proved tonight that they can be good when they stay out of the damn box, and that's the biggest one there too. It's just so tough when you aren't going to win games taking 5+ penalties a game. So until that changes, nothing else will be in the win column. So frustrating, especially how good we looked at the start. And and that's the biggest one too. In the it's tough.
It is. I mean, look. I mean,
But
Macklin Celebrini when he's in the lineup, it does so much for the team and changes the look of the team completely because it slots players kind of into where they should be playing. At this point, with him out, I think you're also who knows where Thomas Bortolo would have been healthy, but that's another player that you could potentially have penciled in to an opening lineup if he been healthy.
yeah,
Milko Madolin as well, a guy that is looked at as a future of the blue line. So what I'm getting at is there are some pieces out that I don't think we can fully look at and fully make a clear picture of what this team is and what this team is going to be until we get a better look at what Macklin brings to the team night in and night out.
right.
That'll tell us a lot. And then I think the other thing that'll tell us a lot is once Muka Madulin comes back, where does that slot the rest of the defense? I looked at Jack Thompson and Henry Thrun tonight, Erik, and I thought that pair looked good at times. I thought that they were able to really play well in their own defensive zone when they needed to, but I thought the interchanges on the offense looked very good and they looked very comfortable together. Cody Ceci has been a pleasant surprise to me. I think we're definitely overusing him. I don't think he should be logging more than 20 minutes a night, but I have liked the addition of Cody Ceci. I think he brings a good level of experience to a blue line that is pretty young, pretty raw. Matt Benning is the guy that I still don't really understand what his place is on the blue line. It just seems like he's a guy that is not going to be able to keep up speed wise, and yes, you love the physicality that he brings, and I'm thinking that's the primary genesis as to why they brought him in on the blue line in the first place, was to give a little bit more of a physical impact, a guy that wouldn't be afraid of clearing out his own zone or going down and blocking a shot, because we all know the analytics and Matt Benning on block shots. But I would love to see a more mobile defender in that slot. And I think a guy like Muka Madulin is very interesting in Matt Benning's slot on the blue line. And I think it could open up some really interesting possibilities.
Yeah, and for full disclosure, Thomas Bortolo and Shakir Mukamadulin were taken off of IR and were sent to the Barracuda. So Kuhre just got a whole lot better if it couldn't get any better already on that for sure. In the other part you said, Celebrini. Greer came out yesterday on Monday saying that get back to us about Celebrini in a couple weeks with his. It's been reported as a hip injury, which is a very concerning for a guy who basically got tripped up on a breakaway and crashed in the boards hard. You worry that it's a tough one, but that being aside, you play with the cards that you're dealt with. Nick coming in with a super chat. Thank you very much, Nick. Appreciate you. Smith came in tonight's game second on the team for high danger chances created. Let's not act like he hasn't shown flashes of brilliance. No, and that's the big thing. I think the tough part is that the two penalties he took ended up being power play goals. I certainly see the flashes of brilliance. I almost see them like wanting to try too hard a
Yeah.
little bit tonight. I mean, I think he was trying to get some fancy shots in. I even got mad at Granlund online because Granlund's getting ready to has a one-on-one with the goaltender to take a shot, and he passes it over to Smith, who is being defended by a Ducks defenseman. That was tough to take because you don't want to give up chances to take the shots. You got to take your shots, gang. You got to take your shots to make it happen. So, Nick, thank you very much for the super chat. We appreciate it. Super chats always go help keep the lights on the website and for everything of that matter. Indeed. To finish up the recap, Killorn would get the empty netter. Sharks wouldn't muster anything else after they pulled Blackwood. So that would be your 3-1 final. Ducks get their third win of the season. Sharks now 0-5-2. Again, they are the only team in the NHL now that has not been victorious this season. So
We got an interesting question, and I think it's a nice one to kind of wrap up where this game is at. Erik from Uncle Damphy, or excuse me, sorry, from Scratchman. Do y'all think Smith should stay up or go down to the Kuhre wagon, which is better for his development? And I think that this brings up a really good point. Where do you think his development is best served? To me, if you're going to have very similar, parallels to Joe Pavelski, Joe did spend a year in the Woo, right? Before,
he was there for maybe a couple of months before the Sharks called him up.
I mean, it might be time for a little short stint down.
I get you. I understand that, and I know a lot of people have been asking about that.
Yeah.
But Greer, like AJ's mentioning in the thing here, Greer has already said Smith ain't going to the CUDA, so he's got to work out his play. But also, there are no back-to-backs on this road trip. There is a home, well, not necessarily a home at home, but they finish up the road trip Monday in Utah and then home to LA on Tuesday. So maybe he doesn't play in one of those games. I know they're kind of looking at load management because, again, the kids have, maybe at the most 40, 50 games, the NCAA, and they don't want to try to do it. And again, let's not get on this kid too hard, guys. Pavelski played 16 games in Worcester.
In the Woo.
Yeah. Because I remember he was called up in November and had a sweet game-winning goal against Detroit.
Yeah, and I remember they did a similar strategy as where, when he wasn't excelling on the second line, they put him down on that third line, and I remember him anchoring the third line for a long time. Yep. So, I mean, and we've seen Smith move up and down in the lineup as well. So, if Greer says he's not going back down, and I would trust Greer. He's given us no reason to.
Yeah,
he's been pretty much a straight shooter. I don't think he's going to go back down, and if that's the case, then going to be very similar trajectory.
Yeah. Simcast asking Smith still no PP1 time Wenberg. Why can't Smith be the bumper guy or net front guy? It begs me that Warsaw's won't give him some PP1 reps to build his confidence. Well, one of the things that Smith is good at is he has a nice one-timer. So I think they're kind of trying to set it up for them to get that going. But, Wenberg was the net front guy that Dostal was getting pissed at. And, Dostal went right in the net to get the Sharks tied up on this game. So you have some net front presence. I know we saw Cunnin on Sunday on the power play. And to me, I think that was just trying to spark something, especially since, Gushtin and him worked on, I guess, on that tip drill against Vegas at the end of the preseason. So you're trying something,
I mean, look, this is for me, Puck Guy. I kind of would break it down like this: when everybody's healthy, I would love to see Macklin and Smith on PP1, so Macklin and Smith, and then Toffoli on the other wing with Wallman and either Wallman and Thrun on the back end, or Wallman and Johnson on the back end. And then on PP2, I would love to see Eklund, Zetterlund, and Granlund back together, because we knew that they had a lot of chemistry together. And putting those three together, I mean, that could be a great PP2 unit. And let, either let Wallman or Thrun quarterback that, unit, and then either Muku Madulin when he gets up, eventually, or another young defenseman take the other side of the point. But I would really try to keep familiarity with the power play, because I think when you're on the power play, especially, you really want to have line mates that you understand their tendencies.
Yeah. So it'll remain to be seen. I mean, let's not get too crazy about this and everything, because again, long term, long form. We just gotta take these painful losses now in October of the first year of these kids till
Thompson, not Johnson. Excuse me.
Yeah, Thompson.
Thank you.
So that let's put that book on the game. The Sharks are 0-5-2. As we mentioned, Bordeleau and Muku Madulin off to the Kuhre now that they're cleared for IR. So we'll see what goes on there. If there are any other roster moves that when they get to call up, or if they stay down with the Kuhre, and then Celebrini is gonna, maybe sometime in November we'll get back to you on that. We shall see. So it is. It is the 2024 Frozen Frenzy. Did you watch any of the other games?
No, I've been knee deep in work. I'm preparing.
How dare you?
Yeah, I've been preparing for a trip to Japan at the end of the week.
Well, you know what? We don't do this whole often, and don't get used to it. All right. But since there were 16 games in the NHL tonight, I think it's time.
Have the goddamn common courtesy to give him a reach around.
It's wraparound, actually. So the Frozen Frenzy, it's the counter programming to the NBA opening night. So 16 games in the NHL. Capitals won 4-1. They had two shorthanded goals in that game to really get them going. Panthers got destroyed by Minnesota 5-1. Hagel with the hat trick for Tampa to beat the Devils 8-5 in a high scoring affair. Dallas 4-2 over Buffalo. You then had the Rangers just light up Montreal 7-2. Columbus destroys Toronto after Toronto took care of Tampa 6-2. Detroit only had 10 shots on goal, but it was still good enough to beat the Islanders 1-0. Winnipeg stays undefeated, 3-2 win over St. Louis. Vancouver jumped all over the Hawks early and often. They beat the Chicago NHL hockey team 6-3. Boy, I messed that one up. Boston gets shut out. I know, right? Boston gets shut out by Nashville. Nashville gets their first win of the year, 4-0. Avalanche on a hot streak now. They've won 3 in a row. They beat the Kraken 3-2. Hurricanes beat the Oilers in overtime 3-2 in that one. Sebastian, my mom's not a hoe, with the game-winning goal. Ottawa with the shutout over the Utah Hockey Club 4-0. Flames win in the shootout. Gilroy's Dustin Wolf with the win in net for Calgary, as Calgary remains undefeated in regulation.
Who saw that on the bingo card?
Yeah, 3-1 Ducks for the Sharks, and that graphic is not correct. It is now 6-1 Vegas, and hate to break it to you, gang. Tomas Hertl, 2 goals and 2 assists tonight. But you got you Askarov. Just remember that. Let's look at the comments coming from the locker room here. Cody Cece, our compete is there. We just need to tighten up some things. It comes down to little details. And when we focus on those, we were good enough to win. If the details are there, the offense will come. I will also say, Cody Cece, don't lose your man on the game-winning goal. Warsofsky, you have to compete and be physical, but the lazy penalties, us not skating, it's gotten us into trouble these last few games. I'm glad you finally you realized that that you're being lazy and not moving your feet. Gotta move your feet. Those lazy moves will cost you in the long run, and you're not having the puck. That's even more frustrating. That's where
Thank you, Coach Obvious.
You're welcome. Warsofsky would continue on. Will can't take those penalties. He's got to move his feet. I thought he did some good things, but can't take those calls. So a little bit of a call out for the kid there. But we'll see what happens down the road, dude. It just seems like a if you're going to call out the kid a little bit more and scratch him and say it's load management or this is part of the plan, it's going to be tough. But that goes for everybody, whether it's Smith, whether it's Giovanni Smith, whether it's Delandrio, where it's Ruda. Rudas has taken some rough penalties, and he's got to be better than that. But you start a perfect 11-11, and now you're 16-25. That's not good for your power play, or excuse me, your penalty kill.
No, special teams have not been special at the beginning of this season, and for a team that was not good on the special teams last year and circled that as an area of, that you needed to work on and of concern going into the off season, it doesn't seem like it's gotten better. In fact, it seems like it's gotten worse, especially on the PK side. I'm looking at a PK right now that too easily gives up the zone, that wants to collapse too quickly, that doesn't pressure the perimeters as much as you'd like, and just seeing an overall lack of confidence in the penalty kill itself. It looks like a bunch of team. It looks like a bunch of players that are out there just waiting for the other team to score.
Yeah. So, and the final in Vegas is, so Frozen Frenzy is done. 6 won the final, and of course they have to throw in bleeping Tomas Hertl in the picture. So that's just great. Okay.
We miss you, Tomas. If I had the Wolverine meme, with the picture of Tomas Hertl,
yeah.
that's what I go to bed thinking about.
Gotcha. Never mind. Not touching that one. And with that, in case you missed anything or you want to watch this again, check us out on tealtownusa.com or your favorite podcatcher, wherever you get your podcasts. We appreciate it, the support. If you're watching us on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell to let you know when we do go on after every single home and away Sharks game. Even if they were neutral sites, we'd be on for that matter. But if you're watching us on the replay, please leave a comment down below on your thoughts on tonight's game. We do appreciate it, and please tell a friend or 100. That'd be great to do, because we are still growing this thing, even though it is season 10 of this podcast.
10,000 subs for 10 years. At the end of the season.
I think that's very capable of us happening. I mean, Brody said so on opening night, so
maybe.
Yeah.
I quickly though, and I really do want to ask this because it's very similar to how it was last season. We're starting very eerily similar. Does this 0-5-2 start feel different to you this year than it did from last year? It does to me, and I'll tell you, because you can see semblances or pieces of like the uncovered gem, that's within all of the the slag that you're going through. You can start to see those little gems, kind of popping out of the slag. So it's still very much a work in progress, but they're in there. But still, very much a difficult watch to me. Whereas last year it was just I looked into the void. I looked into the void.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Martin saying, yes, it does feel different. Jesse L, it's closer to watchable. Yeah, that's for sure. It's not a tire fire. It's just bad, and that's the tough part of it all. And I know this is age. Oh, come on. The one that start quite feels different because there's okay. Yeah. Oh,
hey,
Jay.
What we
love
lost
Brody, but
what we lost in pre and post game, I guess we gained in tie 99 returning home. Full time.
Yes, of course. So, all right, we will be back with you Thursday night as the Sharks take on the LA Kings. That's I believe a 7:30 face-off. So I'll be back here breaking this one down. And Landi, final thoughts before we get out of here?
Yeah, final thoughts are continue to keep the faith, people. It's going to be okay. They're just kids after all. But no, we've got to find those silver linings and those good feel good stories, and just kind of watch this team grow and develop. So let's try to ratchet down the expectations and support the team with where they're at. And we'll see it get better. I'm telling you, the light is eventually coming down that tunnel. It's there, but might be a little hard to see right now. As far as where you can find me, you can use my first name. That's Erik, Erik. Last name Landi, Landi, across all of the social media garbage. And that does about it for me.
All right. I'm at PuckGuy14 on the Twitter and the Instagram and the Threads and Blue Sky and practically every other else, including Memento. We will be back with you on Thursday night following Sharks and Kings. I would hope for a first win, but, I'm not going to put money on it. Until then, keep it real, keep it teal, keep it real teal. Have a great night, everyone. We'll see you Thursday night.